Cory Mills. Good to have you on the program, sir. Seems like everybody's lining up behind MAGA. Everybody's lining up behind DOGE. Does it make you just a little bit skeptical sometimes?
Well, of course, it's the Johnny-come-latelys. It's now that we've won, they want to go ahead and get onto the party and the victory bandwagon, and that's fine. We welcome them, as well as President Trump. He said many times, we're the party of unity. We're trying to ensure that everyone has a place underneath the big tent. But we need to start understanding that we have to embrace what the president's agenda is and what we're trying to achieve in the America First platform, and that is with DOGE to try and get government efficiency. We know that there's places like even the Congressional Budget Office. I'll give you an example. When we pushed to cut the 87,000 additional IRS agents, they said that that would actually be a cost to cut 87,000 jobs. When we asked for an explanation, they said, well, these 87,000 are going to be going after auditing. And it said very clearly by President Biden that he wasn't going to audit anyone over $400,000 in salary. 92% of those who are audited are actually audited under the $400,000 mark. So if that was the case, how does these things actually, cost us money by trying to cut and make efficiencies in our actual jobs? And so, whether it's ensuring that we don't let the 2025 sunset on the tax reform platform, where that would take jobs and businesses from 21% to 40%, or whether it's just trying to ensure that we don't have the continual redundancy where if a federal member can't do his job, we hire 5 in place of him. This is the type of thing that we need to get efficiencies and cut so that we stop the spending in $36 trillion.
Congressman Mills, there are a lot of Republicans who are in for a rude awakening, though. Plenty of ones who showed up to flap their gums in front of Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk last week because they are part of the problem, and you certainly well know it. What I think Chip Roy said. 2/3 of the people in the room last week voted for all the omnibuses, all the continuing resolutions and supplementals. And President Trump told Time magazine, I will veto any spending bill that shows up on my desk that kind of defies our spending priorities. And speaking of flap my gums, I can keep flapping, but the Defense Department is the worst and is already in the line of sight of Elon and Vivek.
Well, as it should be when you fail 7 audits. Look, I have never voted for a single continuing resolution or minibus. Why? Because you can't continue to spend at the Nancy Pelosi post-COVID emergency spending levels. What we need to be doing is going to 2019 pre-COVID, adding a 3.5% adjusted rate, which means that we would be spending somewhere around $1.477 trillion, not the $2+ trillion over what we're actually bringing in revenue. And look, under President Trump, Dagan, we brought in more money in tax revenue than ever in America's history. We brought in $5 trillion. But they're trying to say at CBO and others that to actually reauthorize that tax reform, that it's going to cost us money. This is the type of absurdity in government where we create jobs and it doesn't actually cost, but if we cut jobs, somehow it costs us. Yeah. We have to get to fiscal responsibility because our greatest existential threat is our debt.
Yeah.
I think you got to shut some things down. I hear people talking about shrinking things and rationalizing things, but if you leave...
Let's shrink EPA so it stops stifling jobs and stifling businesses. Let's shut down and limit Department of Education, return it to the states. Let's start getting things... I'm a 10th Amendment absolutist, Brian. Give it back to the states and the individual citizens. Limit federal government. Cut 39% of federal government employees and start returning the powers back to the states and start getting fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Shut some things down instead of shrinking things is fine, but you leave the infrastructure in place. Somebody else comes back in and grows it again. So I just say get rid of the thing. But you answered my question. Well done.
But it's going to take you and other serious Republicans to publicly embarrass members of your own party.
Yes.
When they dig their high heels.
Dagan, if you know anything about me, I have no problem doing that.
And I don't have any problem doing it either. But when they dig their heels in about the Defense Department, which now the interest on our national debt tops what we spend on defense. Again, that's a sacred cow and untouchable for a lot of people because they know once they leave Congress, what business are they going to get in? It's lobbying.
Well, but that's why we have to go ahead and, one, we need to ban stock trading for every member of Congress and their spouse. We have to put a moratorium in place that says you can't lobby or try to go to a business or an actual corporation that you actually oversaw with your committee of jurisdiction. We have to cut the conflicts of interest, but we also have to understand that we need procurement reform. We need to guarantee that we're able to have a strong and robust military, but at the same time, we need efficiencies in place that actually treat the warfighter. I'm all for the idea of increasing the salaries, quality of life, and guaranteeing the spouses of our service members are taken care of. But what I'm not about is building the coffers of these defense industries that continue to try and overspend and overcost and basically not deliver, like the F-35 program or even the V-22 Osprey programs. Right. These are the things that we need to be auditing and holding them accountable for, because this is the issue, is that we have generals who oversee these programs, then go sit on the boards of the very companies they oversee after a one-year cool-down period. We need to go ahead and get a 10-year moratorium in place and guarantee that we can cut the conflicts of interest.
And I know you think Pete Hegseth is the man to do that because you signed a letter.
Amazing guy to do it. He prioritizes our war fighters. I wrote a letter for him. I will continue to stand by Pete. Pete's exactly what we need in the DOD, and the more that they attack him and the more that they're scared of him taking place is the more that tells me that he's the right guy for the job.
Congressman, great stuff. Good to see you.
Great to see you, sir. We're here for the embarrassment, so it's going to be 4 years, and I really can't wait for it.
Popping popcorn right now.